The partnership was established over a year ago. Its intention was to secure progress in energy, transport, logistics and combating crime and corruption to enable economic growth and job creation. Government and business leaders say substantial progress has been made thus far, the most evident being the improvement on the electricity front.
After several years of debilitating load shedding, we are now finally turning a corner on the energy crisis. As a result of the steps that we have taken through the Energy Action Plan, we have experienced a number of days, more than 180 days without load shedding. And a great proof of that is Minister Dr. Ramaphosa, who's here, who's been a real zealot in as far as ensuring that load shedding becomes history in our country. Reforms in the energy sector have also unlocked hundreds of billions of rands in investment, helping to address the long-standing shortfall in our electricity supply. Now, through the National Logistics Crisis Committee, which we created together with Labour, yourselves as business and government, we are making progress in stabilizing and improving the logistics system to support our key export industries. We have embarked on a process of fundamental reform through the Freight Logistics Roadmap, enabling open access to the freight logistics network and introducing the private sector in container terminals for the first time. And some of these processes were quite terrifying for a number of people. People in my tribe, in government, were fearful, and they were saying, oh, the private sector is going to come and swallow us, and they will cut jobs. And people in the private sector were also a bit concerned. Will we be able to work with government or not? And we've been taking all these steps, crossing the river, and perhaps a number of rivers, by feeling our way on the stones as we are crossing those rivers. We have also made real progress in strengthening our law enforcement agencies and reversing the effects of state capture. This work is helping to entrench the rule of law and create a predictable environment for investment.
The progress has emboldened the partners to aim higher with an ambitious economic growth target for 2025 in sight.
Over 3% growth, the economy will generate 2.5 million jobs by 2029. That's huge. And when you think about the fact that every job supports 2 or 3 people, you're looking at 8 to 10 million people affected. It's a real change. So our hope in this phase 2 is setting out very stretched goals. These are really asymptotic if we can achieve them. But if we do, the prize is big. And so we are committed to doing it. We need the commitment, obviously, of our counterparty in the partnership.
While the commitment is there, particularly from business, but the Black Business Council says it hopes the black businesses will be invited to the table to also have a say.
We hope the phase 2 will work better than phase 1. And I'm saying that because in phase 1, black business was excluded, small business was excluded, women-owned businesses were excluded, businesses owned by youth were excluded, businesses owned by people living with disabilities were excluded. And the president in his SONA did indicate that this administration is going to be underpinned by inclusive growth. And we hope that is not only going to be talk, it will be action.
Meanwhile, others have committed that their respective industries will be all hands on deck in the next phase.
Actually come from a difficult past. I mean, if you look at the past, phase 1, we actually, issues of load shedding, freight and logistics, those were daunting challenges a year ago. And look at where we are now. So we believe that we do have the foundation. We know it can be done. Our force now is that in phase 2, we drive economic growth and job creation. And it's a reasonable target in the circumstances.
I think mining can contribute significantly to that growth forecast of 3, maybe even 3.5%. Mining is a primary sector in the economy. and its impact, goes downstream into secondary and tertiary industries. And so a good number to quote, for instance, is that for every million rands that you invest in mining, that can result in 6.5 million rands being invested in the rest of the economy. So you put an extra 3 zeros at the end of that 1 million. For every billion, you can get 6.5 billion rands that could be invested in the economy.
It's really, pardon the pun, the low-hanging fruit here, because we can massively expand our exports. If we're able to, as the project here talks about, deal with some of the port logistics, particularly at the Cape Town port, we can massively expand our export opportunities there. The great thing about agriculture as well is that I think it is going to be a net creator of jobs in South Africa if we are able to expand the markets both locally and internationally for South Africa's agricultural products. The more demand you have for the products, the more you can get out to the country, the more jobs are created locally. And if you look at the shape of South Africa's unemployment, the large majority of the unemployed are unskilled or low skill, and there's only 3 ways that you can really absorb that shape of labour into a system. It's industrial processes, it's tourism, and it's agriculture and agro-processing. And so the Agriculture Department is going to play a very big role.
Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.